Every morning, whether you realize it or not, you step onto a battlefield. But it's not made of guns or swords, no enemies in armor, no dramatic showdown. It's much quieter and far more dangerous, because this battlefield isn't out there in the world. It's in here, your own mind. And the war? It starts the moment your eyes open. Doubts flood in, notifications scream for attention. Regrets from yesterday and worries about tomorrow fight to pull you out of the present moment. Fear creeps in dressed as logic. Distractions disguise themselves as priorities, and temptation whispers that comfort is better than discipline. Before you've even gotten out of bed, your peace is under attack. Your clarity is on the line, and your willpower is being tested. In today's world, you're expected to be everything, everywhere, all the time, productive, connected, impressive, successful. But in chasing all that, you quietly lose something far more valuable: your center, your ability to think clearly, to act with purpose, to stand still when everything around you is spinning. You begin to feel scattered, exhausted, even defeated, not because life is too hard, but because you're fighting the wrong battle. The real war was never outside of you. It was always inside, and unless you learn how to win that battle, no victory in the world will ever feel like enough. So how do you fight back? How do you stay grounded in a world addicted to noise and urgency? How do you protect your peace when pressure is everywhere? The answer isn't new, it's ancient. The Stoics knew this fight, they trained for it, and they left behind tools, not for escaping the chaos, but for becoming stronger within it. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca. These men didn't just write words, they built mental armor. They understood that true strength isn't about controlling the world, it's about mastering yourself. And when you do that, you become clear, composed, and unshakable, not because life got easier, but because you got better. This video is your map, a step-by-step guide to mastering the only battlefield that matters: your own mind. Through 10 powerful Stoic principles, we'll show you how to think sharply, stand tall under pressure, and lead a life that is guided by purpose instead of pulled by chaos. This isn't just philosophy, it's preparation for real life. And by the end of this video, you won't just feel inspired, you'll feel ready. Ready to be smart, ready to be strong, and ready to be unstoppable. Chapter 1. Be smart, mastering the art of discernment. The Stoics taught that wisdom begins with clarity. Clarity of thought, of intention, of perception. And if there's one thing our modern world attacks constantly, it's that clarity. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And isn't that true? Our minds are bombarded by worries about what might go wrong, what others might think, and what the future might hold. But most of the time, the suffering isn't real. It's the mental noise we haven't yet learned to quiet. In today's world, smart doesn't mean memorizing facts. It means knowing how to filter them. It means having the strength to pause and ask, is this thought helping me or hurting me? The Stoic doesn't just react, they reflect. They study their reactions and ask deeper questions. Is this in my control? Is this real? Or am I inventing problems in my head? That pause is power. That awareness is everything. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "You have power over your mind and not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That's not just a quote, it's a mindset shift. Because once you understand that your thoughts create most of your suffering, you gain the ability to change your life from the inside out. You stop chasing control over the world, and you start mastering the one thing that truly belongs to you, your own perception. Being smart also means being deliberate. The mind is constantly being influenced by media, by conversation, by the stories you tell yourself. So the Stoic becomes a gatekeeper. They don't let just anything walk into their mind and take up space. They question their assumptions. They challenge their beliefs. They don't absorb ideas blindly. They ask, does this serve me? Is this true? Is this worth my energy? That's not paranoia. That's discipline. Clarity isn't something you stumble into. It's something you build. It's the result of repeated conscious effort. It's the willingness to step back and sort through your emotions before they turn into actions. It's the decision to reflect before reacting. It's the strength to stay calm when everyone else is spiraling. And it starts with small choices. What you read, what you focus on, what thoughts you let repeat inside your mind. You don't need to be a genius to be smart. You just need to be intentional. You need to question the noise, slow your reactions, and reclaim your mind from the chaos. Smart people don't get lost in every argument or triggered by every offense. They hold the line. They step back and see the bigger picture. They ask, is this worth my peace? And often, the answer is no. If you want to start building that kind of mental discipline, begin with this. When something frustrates or angers you today, pause. Write it down. Then ask yourself, what actually happened? What did I assume? And what's the truth beneath all this emotion? That moment of questioning, that small gap, is how you train your discernment. That's how you become smart in a world that's too quick to react and too distracted to reflect. Being smart is not about detaching from life. It's about engaging with it consciously. It's about responding with intention, not impulse. Seeing what's true, not just what's loud, and making sure your thoughts work for you, not against you. Chapter 2. Be strong, the discipline of the will. Strength to the Stoic wasn't about overpowering others. It wasn't about loudness or bravado. It was about endurance, the quiet, steady kind of strength that holds firm when everything around you falls apart. Epictetus said, difficulties show men what they are. And when life applies pressure, the real question becomes, who are you underneath it all? We live in a world that worships visible strength. The sculpted body, the booming voice, the image of control. But real strength is internal. It's invisible to the eye, but unmistakable in presence. Can you stay kind when others are cruel? Can you hold your values when no one's watching? Can you keep going when your motivation is gone and no one is cheering you on? That is the strength the Stoics trained for. The kind that doesn't collapse under pressure, the kind that doesn't need attention to exist. Life will challenge you. It will test you with loss, rejection, pain, and disappointment. But the Stoic doesn't wish these away. They prepare for them. They understand that hardship isn't a sign something has gone wrong. It's the path. It's the opportunity. Every difficulty is a weight added to your soul. And just like the body, the soul grows stronger under resistance. The pain isn't what breaks you. It's what builds you, if you face it with intention. And that's the discipline of the will. Choosing to act from principle, not emotion. It's refusing to let anger shape your response. It's choosing patience when frustration feels justified. It's doing the right thing even when your feelings are screaming to do the opposite. That is strength. Not the absence of emotion, but the mastery of it. Not numbness, but clarity in the middle of emotional storms. This kind of strength doesn't always look heroic. Sometimes it's as simple as showing up when you don't feel like it, saying no when compromise feels easier, holding your tongue when the room is filled with chaos. It's not grand gestures that build inner power. It's repetition. It's the thousands of small decisions made every single day that say, I will not fold. I will stay grounded. The Stoics didn't fantasize about ease. They trained for the storm. They expected difficulty and met it with composure. When something painful happened, they didn't panic. They paused. They didn't ask, why me? They asked, how can I rise from this? And that's what made them unshakable. They didn't wait for strength to appear. They cultivated it, one hard moment at a time. So ask yourself this, where in your life are you letting emotion dictate your ethics? Where are you letting pressure override principle? The next time you're tired, frustrated, or tempted to quit, stop. Don't listen to the noise. Listen to your purpose. Ask yourself, what does my highest self do right now? Then do that. Not because it's easy, but because that's how strength is built. True strength doesn't shout. It doesn't seek applause. It lives quietly in your choices. And it shows up strongest when no one is watching. Build that kind of strength. The kind that bends but doesn't break. The kind that keeps its word even when it hurts. The kind that turns pressure into growth. That's the Stoic path. That's what it means to be truly strong. Chapter 3. Be unstoppable. The power of inner purpose. Being unstoppable doesn't mean you never fall. It means you never stay down. The Stoics believed that what separates the fragile from the resilient isn't talent, luck, or motivation. It's purpose. Marcus Aurelius once asked himself, if today were my last, would I still do what I'm doing? That's not a poetic thought. That's a mirror. Because when your actions aren't aligned with your deepest values, you feel it. You feel the drift, the numbness, the burnout. But when your life is powered by purpose, real, internal purpose, You become a force that can't be derailed. Most people move through life reacting. They chase validation, follow trends, and drift toward comfort. But the Stoic moves with intention. They wake up not asking, "What do I feel like doing?" but "What must be done?" Purpose gives you direction when motivation fades. It anchors you when setbacks come, and they will come. Rejection, delay, criticism, doubt. The question is, do those things stop you, or do they sharpen you? When your purpose is clear, everything else becomes secondary. You stop looking for approval. You stop chasing shortcuts. Obstacles become tests, not walls. Criticism becomes feedback, not defeat. Delays become preparation, not punishment. That's the power of purpose. It transforms struggle into growth. It turns pain into fuel. It gives your suffering meaning. And meaning is what makes you unstoppable. This doesn't mean being reckless. It doesn't mean quitting your job overnight or charging into the unknown blindly. Being unstoppable isn't about force. It's about alignment. It's about knowing what you stand for and living in accordance with it, especially when no one's watching. It's about saying no to comfort when it distracts you. It's about staying on your path even when no one understands it. That's what makes you powerful. Not external success, but internal certainty. Purpose doesn't need applause. It doesn't need constant wins. It needs one thing: commitment. That's the Stoic way. You don't act because things are easy. You act because your principles demand it. When others fold under pressure, you stand. When others lose focus, you return to your reason. When life knocks you down, you don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" You ask, "What is this preparing me for?" If you want to be unstoppable, stop relying on inspiration. Build discipline, build clarity, define your values and measure your life against them. Ask yourself, are the habits I live by aligned with the future I want? Are the decisions I make today helping me become the person I claim to be? If the answer is no, don't wait. Adjust, refocus, begin again. That's not weakness, that's power. You don't need permission to live on purpose. You need courage. The courage to walk away from distractions, the courage to act without applause, the courage to keep going when doubt creeps in. Because when your actions are driven by purpose, not popularity, you can endure anything. You stop being pulled by fear and start being guided by vision. You stop surviving and start leading, not with noise, but with consistency. That's what it means to be unstoppable. You're not immune to struggle. You're fueled by it. You're not perfect. You're focused. You're not always confident, but you're always committed. And that commitment, that's your superpower. With purpose, the world can push, but you won't break. With purpose, you don't need to be pushed. You pull yourself forward. That is the Stoic path, one of steady resolve, unshakable clarity, and quiet fire. Purpose is what makes you unstoppable. Chapter 4. End the War Within. Conquering the Self. The greatest war you'll ever fight isn't out there in the world. It's in here, within your own mind. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They didn't waste energy trying to control every external event. They focused on mastering the one thing that determines everything else, the self. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And that mastery doesn't happen by accident. It happens through awareness, through reflection, through relentless honesty with yourself. You can't be truly smart if your thoughts are hijacked by emotions. You can't be strong if every small setback sends you spiraling. And you certainly can't be unstoppable if you're at war with your own mind. Self-sabotage is real, and it's often invisible. It shows up as procrastination, insecurity, jealousy, rage. But these aren't flaws. They're habits. They're mental patterns we've repeated so many times they feel like who we are. The Stoic knows this, and trains daily to break those patterns, not by fighting harder, but by becoming more aware. This kind of internal work isn't easy. In fact, it's the hardest work of all, because it requires you to stop blaming others. It forces you to stop pointing outward and start looking inward. Why did I react that way? What belief am I holding on to that's hurting me? What fear is controlling this behavior? Those questions hurt, but they heal. They shine a light on the parts of you that need attention, and in that light, change becomes possible. Most people avoid this inner work. They distract themselves, they numb out. They blame circumstances, but the Stoic faces it head on. Because they know that peace doesn't come from avoidance. It comes from alignment. You can't live a clear, focused, powerful life while dragging around inner chaos. You have to face the storm within and calm it, one thought at a time. That starts with observation. You begin to notice the moments you give your power away. You notice when anger takes over, when fear controls your decisions, when doubt paralyzes your progress. And instead of reacting blindly, you slow down. You create space. You ask better questions. Why am I feeling this? What triggered it? What's the truth beneath the emotion? That awareness breaks the cycle. It weakens the grip of old habits. And over time it gives you freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom to act on what truly matters. The Stoics didn't aim to be flawless. They aimed to be consistent, and that meant being brutally honest about their flaws. Not with shame, but with purpose. They journaled their mistakes. They examined their impulses. They reviewed their days not to punish themselves, but to grow. Because mastery doesn't come from pretending you're already there. It comes from seeing where you're not, and doing the work anyway. Here's the practice. At the end of your day, sit with yourself. Review your actions. Where did you rise above your lower self? Where did you fall short? Don't judge it, just observe it. And then commit to one improvement for tomorrow. One adjustment. That's how the inner war begins to quiet. Not through massive changes, but through steady, deliberate reflection. When you conquer yourself, the world no longer controls you. Your peace is no longer negotiable. Your clarity no longer wavers. And your purpose no longer gets drowned in noise. You become a force, steady, grounded, and whole. That's the Stoic path. And it begins with ending the war within. Chapter 5. Build your fortress, creating mental and emotional resilience. A Stoic doesn't hope for life to be easy. A Stoic trains for life to be hard. That's the mindset that builds true resilience. Not waiting for the storm to pass, but becoming the kind of person who can stand in the storm without breaking. Mental strength isn't something you're born with. It's something you construct brick by brick, moment by moment, like a fortress around your mind. Not to shut the world out, but to protect what matters most inside, your clarity, your courage, your peace. In the chaos of modern life, distractions are everywhere. Emotions are constantly triggered. The news floods in, voices demand your attention, and daily pressures try to overwhelm you. Without boundaries, your mind becomes a house with no doors, open to anything and everything. The Stoic refuses to live that way. They ask, what am I letting in? Every complaint, every indulgence, every thought you allow unchecked. It's either strengthening your fortress or weakening it. Resilience isn't about becoming numb. It's not about pretending life doesn't hurt. It's about learning how to feel deeply without being destroyed. It's about standing in discomfort without running from it. The Stoic builds a mind that can bend under pressure, but never snap. A heart that can feel pain, but never close off to life. That's what real strength looks like. Not the absence of emotion, but the ability to experience it fully and still choose your response. And this strength is built through preparation. The Stoics practiced something called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. Each morning they imagined what could go wrong, not to create anxiety, but to build readiness. They asked, what might test me today? And how will I respond? By visualizing hardship, they stripped it of its shock. When challenges came, they weren't surprised. They were prepared. That's not pessimism. That's mental training. Try it yourself. Start your day not with fear, but with foresight. Ask, what could challenge my peace today? Who might frustrate me? What plan might fall apart? Then visualize yourself staying calm, responding with strength, returning to your values. That single habit done consistently builds emotional armor. It doesn't block out life. It allows you to walk through life with stability, no matter what the day throws at you. Because the truth is, challenges are not the exception. They are the norm. And if you don't train for them, they will break you. But when you do train, something shifts. You stop seeing obstacles as interruptions and start seeing them as invitations. Invitations to strengthen your focus, to deepen your patience, to prove to yourself that you're stronger than you were yesterday. Your mind is your fortress. And every time you choose discipline over distraction, courage over comfort, presence over panic, You reinforce the walls. You make it harder for chaos to get in. You build a space inside yourself where peace can live, even when the world is on fire, and that space is your responsibility. No one else will guard it for you. You must do the work. So begin now. Don't wait for the next crisis to train your mind. Build the foundation before the storm. Be the person who's already ready. Not because life is calm, but because you are. That's the essence of Stoic resilience. Not avoiding adversity, but being fortified enough to rise through it. You are the architect of that strength. Build it strong. Build it steady. Build your fortress. Chapter 6. Build the mind that can't be broken. There's a kind of strength that doesn't show in your muscles or your posture. It shows in your response when everything falls apart. That's the mind the Stoics aim to build. A mind that bends, adapts, and still stands firm when life throws its worst at you. Marcus Aurelius led through plague and war. Epictetus was born into slavery. Yet they both found peace, not because life was kind to them, but because they trained their minds to stay solid in chaos. You don't need to control everything around you. You need to command the one thing that's always with you, your own mind. When plans fail, when the unexpected hits, when people disappoint you, your thoughts become your only shelter. And the quality of those thoughts determines whether you spiral or stay steady. That's why the Stoics trained like warriors, not with weapons, but with perspective. They questioned their assumptions, re-examined their beliefs, and fortified their mental habits every single day. The truth is, most people don't lose battles to life. They lose them to their own thinking. They get pulled by moods, trapped in fear, overwhelmed by stories that may not even be true. Their mind becomes an echo chamber for doubt, anger, anxiety. But that only happens when you let your mind run untrained. A strong mind doesn't react blindly. It doesn't believe everything it thinks. It pauses, it questions, it decides. Building that kind of mind takes work. It means becoming aware of what you feed your brain. Who do you listen to? What media do you consume? What words do you say to yourself in silence? These things matter. They shape your inner world. A weak mind allows anything in. A trained mind guards the gate. The Stoics were ruthless about this. They didn't tolerate unnecessary noise, because they understood that every thought becomes a building block in the house of your identity. Attention is the currency of strength. Let it scatter and your focus dissolves. Guard it like gold and your clarity deepens. Most people never realize how reactive they are, how much of their life is run by impulse. The Stoic mind breaks that cycle. It learns how to pause, reflect, and act with intention. Not because it's perfect, but because it's disciplined. Not because it avoids pressure, but because it's been trained to stay calm inside of it. So how do you build this kind of unbreakable mind? Start with awareness. Catch yourself when you complain, when you catastrophize, when you fall into mental loops. Interrupt the pattern. Replace it with something stronger. Journal your thoughts. Write down what matters. Speak to yourself with clarity. The words you repeat internally will either build you or break you. Choose them wisely. This is the difference between a mind that collapses under pressure and one that grows stronger because of it. The untrained mind blames. The prepared mind adapts. The weak mind needs comfort. The disciplined mind creates its own stability. You don't need to control everything. You need to build the kind of mind that remains steady when everything around it is out of control. That's the mind the Stoics built, and it's the mind you are capable of creating, brick by brick, thought by thought, day by deliberate day. It doesn't happen in a single moment. It happens in every moment you choose discipline over distraction. That's how the mind becomes unbreakable. Not because nothing ever goes wrong, but because you've trained it to stay whole when everything else shatters. Chapter 7. Turn setbacks into power. To the Stoics, setbacks were never the end. They were the beginning. Every obstacle, every failure, every painful moment was seen as fuel for growth. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." That wasn't poetry, that was instruction. It was a mindset built for survival, and more importantly, transformation. Most people hit a wall and stop. They take rejection personally. They let failure define them. But the Stoic sees the wall and asks, How can I use this? They treat failure as feedback. Pain becomes a message, not a punishment. Struggle becomes raw material. Not because they enjoy suffering, but because they know suffering is part of the path. You can't rise without resistance. You can't grow without challenge. And you definitely can't become unshakable by only walking easy roads. The power lies in your perspective. You can let setbacks shrink you or sharpen you. You can let them make you bitter or stronger. What the Stoics understood is this: life is going to test you either way, but you get to choose what those tests turn you into. You can run from them, or you can train through them. The difference is in the questions you ask. When things go wrong, don't ask, "Why me?" Ask, "What is this teaching me? What weakness did this reveal? What strength did it demand? What habit must I now break or build?" That's how you shift from victim mode to warrior mode. You stop being dragged by your problems and start using them as weight for mental training. This doesn't mean pretending pain doesn't exist. It means refusing to be ruled by it. You can feel grief, anger, frustration, and still choose not to be consumed. Emotions are not commands, they're signals. You acknowledge them, learn from them, and then you act based on values, not moods. Here's how you turn a setback into power. First, get honest. What did the situation expose in you? Fear, ego, insecurity, avoidance? Don't flinch from the answer. That's where the gold is. That's your opportunity to evolve. Second, define the lesson. What belief needs to change? What habit needs to go? What boundary needs to be set? And third, take action, real, visible, behavioral action, no matter how small. That's how you make pain productive. Because in the end, setbacks aren't the enemy. Stagnation is. Failure doesn't break you. Sitting in it without reflection does. What breaks most people isn't the fall. It's that they stay on the ground, telling themselves a story that they're not strong enough to get back up. The Stoic refuses that narrative. They write a new one. They stand up, even if it's slowly, even if it's messy, because each time they do, they become stronger than they were before the fall. So take one setback and something recent. Write down what it exposed. Write down what it taught you, and then commit to changing one thing because of it. That's Stoicism in action. That's resilience in motion. That's how you stop setbacks from defining you, and start using them to redefine your strength. You don't have to enjoy the pain, but you can respect it. You can listen to it. You can let it forge you into someone wiser, more grounded, more unshakable than ever before. That's the Stoic way. Not to avoid struggle, but to rise because of it. Chapter 8. Master your attention. Master your life. Where your attention goes, your life follows. The Stoics understood this long before the world was flooded with distractions. Marcus Aurelius, in the midst of leading an empire, still reminded himself, "You must reclaim the ability to see clearly." Because without clarity, you lose yourself. You drift. You become reactive instead of intentional. And eventually, you forget what really matters. In our world today, attention is under constant attack. Notifications buzz. Algorithms seduce. Advertisements scream for your focus. And before you know it, your energy is scattered. You're thinking about 5 things at once and fully present for none of them. That's not just inefficient. It's dangerous. Because the quality of your life is directly tied to what you choose to focus on. And if you don't choose with intention, the world will choose for you. The Stoic doesn't allow that. They know attention is sacred and limited. They guard it like a gate. They ask, is this helping me grow or pulling me off course? Is this thought aligned with who I want to become? Most people never ask those questions, but the Stoic does daily, because every moment of attention is an investment, and what you invest in becomes who you are. Attention fuels your habits, your emotions, and your decisions. If you constantly feed your mind negativity, fear, and comparison, that becomes your baseline. But if you feed it reflection, purpose, and clarity, your whole experience shifts. That's why mastering your attention isn't just about focus, it's about identity. You become what you repeatedly attend to. And it's not just about avoiding distractions, it's about replacing them with discipline. You don't need to be rigid, you just need to be honest. What's stealing your time? What's draining your mental energy without giving anything back? The Stoic takes inventory. They audit their inputs. They cut what's unnecessary. not because they're trying to be perfect, but because they're serious about peace. One of the most powerful things you can do is take one day and track your attention. Where does your focus go? What are you reacting to? How often are you pulled off course by things that don't matter? Then ask, what would my life look like if I reclaimed even half of that attention and redirected it towards something meaningful? That single shift in awareness can change everything. The Stoics didn't try to control the world. They controlled their lens. They didn't waste energy on gossip or empty arguments. They didn't obsess over what others were doing. They stayed centered in their lane, rooted in their values. And because of that, they created a kind of inner power that distractions couldn't touch. So the next time your mind wanders, pull it back with purpose, not with guilt, but with clarity. You don't have to live in constant reaction mode. You don't have to give your attention to everything loud or urgent. You get to choose, and that choice repeated enough times becomes a superpower, because the person who controls their attention controls their direction, and the one who controls their direction controls their destiny. That's the truth. It's not dramatic, it's not flashy, but it's unstoppable. That's why the Stoics mastered their attention, because they knew that without it, even the strongest mind becomes scattered. But with it, even the quietest soul becomes powerful. Chapter 9. Speak little, say much, mean everything. The Stoics didn't speak to impress, as they spoke to express clarity, wisdom, and purpose. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." In a world addicted to noise, silence has become a rare kind of strength. And when a Stoic does speak, every word is deliberate, sharpened by thought and grounded in integrity. We live in a time where everyone has something to say, but few have something worth saying. Social media rewards speed over substance, reaction over reflection. But the Stoic slows down. They don't speak out of impulse. They speak from principle. Their words are not weapons, they're tools, used with care, restraint, and direction. When they open their mouth, it's not to be heard. It's to offer something that actually matters. Speaking less doesn't mean saying nothing. It means choosing to say only what serves. Every sentence has weight. Every word has a cost. And the more intentional your speech, the more powerful your presence becomes. The Stoic asks before speaking, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? And if the answer is no, they hold their tongue. Not because they're afraid to speak, but because they've mastered the self-restraint to wait for the right time. Your voice reveals more than your thoughts. It reveals your character. You can pretend to be disciplined with your posture, with your habits, even with your emotions. But your words expose what's really going on inside. That's why the Stoic speaks with purpose. They don't engage in gossip. They don't waste energy proving their point in every argument. They know most debates are more about ego than understanding. And that's why silence can be strength. When others are loud, the Stoic stays calm. When others argue, the Stoic listens. They understand that not every opinion needs a rebuttal. Not every attack deserves a defense. Inner peace is more valuable than temporary victory. And silence, when used wisely, speaks louder than any retort ever could. But when the Stoic does speak, people listen. Because their words are rare. Their voice carries weight. Their tone isn't reactive, it's rooted. When they give advice, it comes from experience. When they express truth, it comes from clarity. And when they offer correction, it comes from care, not from pride. Their communication isn't about control, it's about connection. So if you want to live with greater impact, start with your words. Speak with fewer of them, but let each one carry meaning. Don't speak just to fill silence. Speak when silence would leave something missing. Don't use your voice to broadcast your value. Let your value speak through your actions, and let your words reflect it. Try this practice. For 1 week, speak only when it adds value. Pause before every response. Listen more than you usually do. And when you do speak, speak with calm, speak with purpose, and speak with truth. Let your words reflect the person you are becoming, not the emotions you're trying to release in the moment. In a world addicted to attention, your silence becomes your signal. Your calm becomes your command. Your words become rare, and rare things are powerful. The fewer words you use, the more each one matters. And when your words align with your values, even a whisper can carry more strength than a shout. Chapter 10. Become the fire. The Stoics didn't just want to survive hardship, they wanted to rise through it. Marcus Aurelius said, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." That's your calling. Not to hide from life's trials, but to transform them. Not to avoid the flames, but to become the fire. You will face pain. You will be misunderstood. You will encounter failure, rejection, fear. That's not a threat. That's life. The question is, what will you do with it? Most people let struggle consume them, but the Stoic uses it. They convert pain into focus. They take rejection and turn it into redirection. They take failure and forge wisdom. That's not a fantasy, or that's a practice. Being the fire means every challenge makes you sharper. Every setback becomes a source of strength. Not because it doesn't hurt, but because you've trained yourself to respond with purpose. The Stoic doesn't expect the world to be kind. They expect themselves to be courageous. And because of that, they're never fully shaken. They've already prepared. They've already chosen their response. To be the fire is to stop begging life for ease and start using every trial to level up. When you feel pressure, you grow. When you face fear, you dig deeper. When chaos surrounds you, you hold your center. You don't break because you've built your identity on what no one can take from you, your principles, your clarity, your will. This doesn't mean living without emotion. It means leading those emotions instead of being led by them. You still feel anger, sadness, doubt, but you choose what to do with it. You own your energy. You set your direction. And you commit to walking it with honor. That's the Stoic fire. It doesn't burn recklessly. It burns with discipline. Think about everything life has thrown at you so far. And yet, you're still here, still standing, still learning, still growing. That's proof. Proof that your fire hasn't gone out. It's just waiting for more fuel. So feed it. Take every uncomfortable moment, every delayed goal, every painful memory, and use it. Let it make you deeper, clearer, stronger. To be smart is to see clearly. To be strong is to endure with purpose. But to be unstoppable is to become the kind of person who doesn't just face difficulty, but uses it. That's the difference. Not just surviving the storm, but becoming stronger because of it. Not just tolerating pressure, but letting it carve your character. So here's your final challenge. Choose one thing today that's difficult, one obstacle, one discomfort, one thing you've been avoiding. And instead of resisting it, meet it. Lean into it. Ask, how can this strengthen me? Then act on the answer. That's the moment the fire grows. That's where everything changes, because the world will always bring heat. But when you train your mind, guard your attention, speak with purpose, and live with clarity, that heat stops burning you. It starts fueling you. And you rise, not in spite of the fire, but because of it. Be the fire, the one that cannot be put out, the one that transforms pain into power, the one that walks through storms, not because it's easy, but because you've trained to thrive inside them. That's the Stoic path. And now, it's yours to walk. Thank you for watching. If this message gave you strength, clarity, or calm, like, share, and subscribe to Deep Dive Stoic. There's more timeless wisdom waiting. So continue your journey by watching one of the suggested videos on your screen now. Thank you for being here, for seeking truth, and for being part of this growing community. Stay grounded, stay focused, and keep walking the Stoic path with purpose.